Welcome back. This is Animator's Paradise, back with a popular pick. Senku versus Batman with prep time. Who wins? Let's expand on my YouTube short and go into depth. Survival, human psychology, and battle IQ. These will be the benchmarks. Human versus human. No superpowers, no outside assistance. Nothing but the skin on their backs. These are the rules. 2 months in an isolated forest. Adult Bruce Wayne versus current teenage Senku. No clothes, no tools. They must build everything from scratch and face off in the center of the forest with only 2 months of prep time. The winner is declared when one person is completely incapacitated or knocked out. Who wins? The world's greatest detective, playboy billionaire Bruce Wayne, or the hope of humanity, Senku Ishigami? Let's find out. Let us keep the rules of the Dr. Stone universe. We're in the post-apocalyptic Stone Age, 2,000 years in future Japan, isolated island, no other humans around. There aren't convenience stores or cars or planes to scrap for parts. These guys have to use their brains to search for food, make shelter, and craft tools. We're going to use TV show examples to present a case for Senku and Batman, Bruce Wayne. They both wake up on opposite sides of a huge island. They're unaware of how they got there. All they have is an engraving on a huge stone boulder that says that they have to defeat a certain man in the center of the island in 2 months from waking. I'll break down what each character would make in the time given, how they'll survive the island, and what tactics they would take to get the victory on the other. Let's start with the initial few weeks. We'll start with Senku. Senku is a genius, but by no means can he do everything alone. Senku takes the strengths and talents of others to add to what he lacks. With his Kingdom of Science, Senku creates blueprint roadmaps that almost always rely on Kaseki's crafting, glass blowing and machinery skills, or Yuzuriha's sewing, or Francois's cooking. Senku admits that there are experts beyond his ability, and that was what civilization used to be like. But Senku has general knowledge of almost all things, ranging from weather patterns, farming, machinery, science, rocks, minerals, and even psychology. Senku is a cool and calm-headed guy. Even in his imminent battle with Tsukasa and the Kingdom of Might, he didn't rush and deduce that they wouldn't make a war effort until after winter. Senku would say exactly this in War and Battle. Information is power, and probably build a cell phone like in the show. But Senku was alone this time. Fighting alone, he would prioritize something different. He would say, "We need our Dr. Stone. No fight can be fought if I get sick and die from disease." His first invention would probably be much the same. He would invent soap. He would head to the sea and collect calcium carbonate, shells from the ocean, and leave a ton of them on the shore, all while getting a stick, sharpening a rock, and using vine and leaves to create a cruddy spear to spearfish, killing 2 birds with 1 stone. Senku would spend the first week or so by the seaside. He'd spearfish and collect shells all day and start a fire to cook that fish by night. He'd pulverize the shells into a fine dust, the calcium dust, which he would later use to create a sturdy home and eventually soap. After about a week, Senku would count down to the hour, that he has about 7 weeks till he has his showdown. He would then spend about 2 weeks creating a base, a home, shelter, and clothes. The anime would pretty much go the same. We have TV examples of what Senku did in the first few weeks after being revived with the nitric fluid. We see Senku battle and struggle on an island with monkeys to get basic clothing, food, and basic shelter. Senku, lacking in physical strength, had to craft a number of tools to aid him. Senku lives by the pen is mightier than the sword. When Kohaku is pinned down by a massive tree in the forest by herself, Senku creates a pulley system using simple rope, soap, and wooden logs. We see Senku taking all day to pack gunpowder into the bamboo, then braid rope, which we know is the most time consuming task in Dr. Stone, braiding any kind of rope. And then he uses the soap to oil and lather the rope, which means Senku can create complex, simple machines, complex systems that magnify his own strength or the strength of any human. As we know, the 7 simple machines consist of rope and pulley, wheels and axles, and multiple more types of simple machines that have been used in ancient civilizations. Now let's move on to Batman's survival. I'd imagine Batman would be in a situation like powerless Superman in that one episode of Justice League, when he was sent to the future without powers and stuck on Earth with Vandal Savage, the last human alive. That Superman was in a post-apocalyptic Earth, and he had no means to get home without Vandal Savage. Except this would be much worse because Batman would be alone in some random forest in Japan, about 2,000 years in the future, with nothing around. No tools to scavenge, no scrap metal to use. Batman is not really known for creating anything from scratch. He's always used tools to create things or had assistance from others in making things, like Lucius Fox helping him build the Batcave, or creating weapons based off inventions of his own company, Wayne Tech, or incorporating inventions from other companies like Star Labs or Lex Luthor's tech or something. Either way, Batman doesn't create things from scratch. He's no chemist. He is a good detective. He is a good psychologist to a degree. But he is a rich man. He is Bruce Wayne. He has the funds to get money to buy something from here, to combine it and create something from there. Batman would probably first assess his surroundings and try to figure out where he is and when he is. He'd look at the wildlife and the trees and the coastline from a high distance to figure out he's in some sort of Japan. Having to return where he woke up, he would read the engraving on a massive stone, telling him in 2 months he'd have to meet at the center of the island to face off against a certain genius of a person, a certain mystery man. Batman, taking a more direct approach, similar to Tsukasa, would first climb up into the trees, wait patiently for local wildlife to pass by. Spotting a deer, he would leap down, swiftly breaking its neck. Using 2 rocks, he'd grind them together to craft a makeshift knife, then use it to skin the deer for its hide. Realizing he needed a substantial amount of water, both for drinking and to clean the meat, Batman would begin strategizing how to secure a steady supply. He'd drag the remaining deer near the shore to clean off, and then cooking the meat over a fire. Day after day, Batman would build a temporary sort of jungle hut. Here he'd craft rocks and wood into batarangs. He would create small knives and many more trinkets. And then Batman would see a cave clearing near the forest. He'd have his own makeshift Batcave, where he'd sleep in the darkness, hidden from predators, animals, or surprise attacks from any humans, only coming out during daytime hours. He'd easily spearfish and make fishing poles from bamboo and durable leaves near the forest. But Batman still wouldn't have the scientific knowledge to create anything on a chemical level like soap or gunpowder, but he'd have the basic survival down. After a month and a half of preparation, the 2 rivals are completely set up on opposite sides of the remote island, each at their seaside bases. With 2 weeks remaining, both would spend their days venturing towards the center of the island a little bit early, making day trips to survey the terrain, estimate distances, and assess potential threats, and be on the lookouts for any signs of other human activity. Batman would move in the shadows, move in the dark, and and get as close to the center of the island as possible. Whereas Senku would take his time to craft a magnifying glass or even glasses, as seen in the TV show, to keep his distance and observe things from afar. This would be where Senku would get a first glimpse of Batman and his build, examine his movements, and create a scientific strategy to take him down. All the while, Batman would notice the glint of Senku's microscope, and he would assess that he would be battling someone who's pretty weak but would prefer to keep a distance. With this information, the final battle draws near. Both combatants appear at the center of the forest. The long-awaited face-off begins. Batman begins by throwing batarangs at Senku, but Senku runs between the trees for cover. Batman tries to close the distance to take Senku close up, where his martial arts expertise would dominate. Batman chases Senku down and picks up speed on him very fast. Senku wheezes and pants, knowing that he can't outrun Batman. As Batman rushes towards Senku, Senku tosses an item at him that suddenly glows intensely bright, which makes Batman cover his eyes instinctually. It's the same flare Senku used to blind Homura. Batman is partially blinded, and in those few seconds, Batman would open his eyes to adjust and see a negative of Senku reaching for a crossbow, firing a sharp arrow like he did against Tsukasa. Batman would easily parry the arrow with his makeshift gauntlets, and then continue rushing towards Senku. Senku would smile in a cold sweat. What a monster! Senku would then pull a bag from his science utility belt, a bag of black dust. Senku lights the bag ablaze and throws it at Batman. Batman realizes that the whole area around him was not mere dirt or soil, it was gunpowder. Batman would realize too late that Senku lured him to an explosive battlefield. The bag of lit gunpowder makes contact. Boom! The ignition blows Batman sky high, leaving him with severe burns and a concussion. Not fatal, but Batman passes out. Senku says, "This was 10 billion% a battle of science," as he poses his victory pose. Senku is the winner, and that's the match. Let me know if you can think of a cooler or different scenario in the comments below. And with that, we've come to an end. Keep making art, live in paradise, and see you in the next one. Animator's Paradise, out. Thank you for watching that video. I actually finished this video during the Hurricane Milton. The wind was howling, constant rain, police sirens in the background, but I was able to edit out most of the noise. If you're in Florida, stay safe out there. Stay tuned for more. Let me know in the comments what matches you want to see, what matchups, what versus battles. I also have my animation, The Man of 200 Dates, coming up pretty soon. If you'd like to see more, let me know. Comment what kind of animations you'd like to see. Subscribe, and see ya. Thanks a lot.